And welcome to the regular session meeting of the McDowell County Board of Education at 6 p.m. on Monday, April 17th, and we're here in the board office, and just so glad to see so many people supportive and interested in local public education here this evening. Our first order of business this evening is to approve our agenda, and is there a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Ms. Poupeau makes the motion, and Ms. Silver makes the second. Is there any discussion? If not, then all in favor, right hand, and the motion carries unanimously. All right. And has been our custom over the last number of months, at this time we try to take a moment of silence to still ourselves, and we hope you folks would join with us. Could we? Thank you. I thank you for your kind attention. The next item is the pleasant presentation of the colors and pledge to the flag, and I've asked Chief McClure if he could tell you folks who these cadets are.
Yes, sir, with pleasure. First of all, I'd like to say this Thursday through Saturday, I was asked to announce we were hosting a rifle match. Cadets from across the Carolinas, including Tennessee, come to high school. But one of the only a few schools that have an electronic target system that McDowell County School System and the Navy and a joint partnership purchase these electronic targets. And as a result, the scores of our cadets have risen tremendously. 3 out of the last 4 years, they have made the cut to go to Navy Nationals. This past year, unfortunately, they got snowed into Dallas and could not make it to Utah because of an ice storm that struck. They were stuck in the airport, and all those stories that go along with it. But I would like to take this time to say thank you so much for supporting us with those targets, and just for the community to know where your tax dollars are going. It's a very worthy cause. Cadets come in, like I say, from the Carolinas, including Tennessee, and compete against one another. So it's really an awesome event. The gym is filled with 25 lanes of cadets firing in pre-position rifle competition. I'd like to now turn it over to the cadet commander, who's going to introduce the cadets with a nice color line.
I am Cadet Lieutenant Commander Taylor White. I will be the color guard commander this afternoon, and then we will have Cadet Petty Officer First Class Curtis Epley being the left rifle, with Petty Officer First Class Burleson being the state flag, and Lieutenant Junior Grade Revis being our right rifle this afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Could we rise, please?
Color guard, attention, Harry, colors, ready, cut, forward, march, color guard, halt, right, face, present, colors.
Will you please join me in the pledge? Ready, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Harry. Colors. Ready. Cut.
Left. Face. Forward. March. Color guard. Halt. Right. Face. Post the colors. Left. Face. Forward. March.
Thank you, and you may be seated. And thank you, cadets. The next item of business on our agenda this evening is public input and comments regarding the superintendent search and selection. And the board has reserved until 6:30 p.m. for that time to happen. Now, I need to tell you, if you're here to address the board for some other reason, you may also address the board in this session regarding the superintendent search and selection. And so far, we have one person who has signed up to address the board regarding the superintendent selection this evening. So, Mr. David Patnood has signed up to speak to that matter, and I need to tell you that you have 3 minutes if you're speaking on your own behalf, and that the board will not respond except to clarify particular points that you may raise. It's not a time for us to debate, but a time for the board to listen and the public to speak. So, sir, you may begin when ready.
One question.
All right.
Did you say I could combine if I had something to speak about later?
Well, this portion is only for the superintendent.
So leave the other portion out.
But I think you are also signed up to speak for another issue, and those will be later on in the meeting at the appropriate place on the agenda this evening.
I won't be that long.
Okay.
My interest in addressing you all about the superintendent search goes back to 2 superintendents ago when we made a terrible mistake in this county and hired a lady, that Martini lady. Worst choice that could happen. When she left, everywhere else they dismissed her from wherever she went to. Terrible choice. And there were several times that the board could have dismissed her. I know one time that and the teachers had provided some email things, but they did. And we were stuck with her until she left. I would hate to see this county go through that again. I hope when it gets narrowed down that somebody will go to wherever this person's coming from and do just a few minutes of investigation. You can find out a lot going to a neighborhood in the system about what a person's really like. And the other issue that a lot of these people are here about tonight, that should be considered the type person that you're hiring. I believe you can see the support for what's going to come up a little later. And so we need to be thinking about that. One other comment that was made several years ago when we went through the deal with her, one of the board members told me everybody wasn't for her, and there was some discussion, but they all voted for her because they wanted to show unity when they did that. That's not why we didn't elect you all together. We selected each one of you by a vote. So we can hire or fire you by that vote. So please stand on your own. If y'all don't agree on the person, let us, vote the way you want, not just to be unified and to show support for the new superintendent. That bothered me a lot when that was said to me last time or time before last. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Are there others that may wish to speak? Well, I tell you what, it's about 12 minutes after, according to that clock. We'll hold the floor open until 15 after. And then if no one desires to speak to the superintendent's selection, then we'll entertain a motion to proceed with the meeting. Is that agreeable to the board? Okay. Okay. Anyone else desire to address the board and make your feelings known about the selection of the superintendent? All right. If not, then the board would entertain a motion to close this portion of public input and move along with the agenda. So is there a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion that we close this portion of the agenda and
Okay.
move on.
All right.
Second. Oh, sorry.
So Ms. Silver makes the motion and Ms. Moomaw makes the second. Is there any discussion? If not, then all in favor of continuing with the meeting and closing this portion of public input, raise your right hand. And the motion carries. Thank you all. So we'll continue on with the business session of the meeting then, and I'm going to call on our interim superintendent, Mr. Brian Oliver, to update the board and the public on a lot of big happenings over the last 30 days.
Thank you, sir. Mr. English, members of the board, special guests, school leaders, students, thanks for being here tonight. Since our last meeting, we held our leadership team meeting at Pleasant Gardens Elementary School. We had our bid opening for the McDowell High School athletic upgrades projects, and then we had a special call board meeting to discuss and consider those bids. We had an endowment fund board meeting. We had parent advisory committee, which is a committee made up of all of our teachers of the year from each school. That's always a wonderful group to meet with. Ms. Phillips is our district teacher of the year this year, and she is part of that group as well. I also had the opportunity to attend the state superintendent's quarterly meeting, and during that meeting, we were recognized in 2 or 3 different ways as a district. We were recognized as being one of the few programs in the state that has a fire safety program in our CTE program, which is a wonderful program that trains future firefighters. And we're really proud of that, and proud of our whole public safety academy, which that firefighter academy is part of. We were also recognized for being one of only 7 districts in the state that has completed letters training. And you may have heard about letters training over the past 2 years, but all that hard work that has taken place has been noticed and has been recognized. So one of 7 districts that is now considered letters complete as a district.
Mr. Oliver, could you, just for the sake of the public, could you explain what letters training is?
Yes, sir. So letters training is the training that goes along with the science of reading. And this is the chosen curriculum by our state to teach reading to our 3rd graders and above. And over the past 2 years, districts have been, the staff of districts have been training on the science of reading so that they would better be able to teach students to read. And so we're one of the first 7 districts in the state who has completed that mandated training by the state. And we're very proud of that. Our teachers have worked hard. Lots of our elementary folks are here, and we appreciate all that hard work that you've put in for that. We were also recognized for our programs with STEAM and STEM at FCS and other schools. And we're very proud of that as well. Lots of hard work. We had a board work session in March 27th to be exact. Had the opportunity to attend the Joint Education Committee meeting, which is with the county and the community college staff. That's always a good meeting. Had a great meeting with Sheriff Buchanan to talk about SRO issues and school safety issues. Always a pleasure to meet with Sheriff Buchanan and Chief Lawrence. We had a very good meeting with our CTE leadership at East Middle, talking about CTE training for our middle schools. Had the opportunity to attend the Blooming Arts celebration at Nebo Elementary, and had a chance to read to some elementary students during that celebration, and that was a great event. We had a special call board meeting another special call board meeting, to reconsider the low bid for our athletics upgrade project at McDowell High School, and that project was approved with some adjustments from the low bidder. And so we're very happy to be moving forward with that. After that, we had spring break. I think everyone thoroughly enjoyed an opportunity to take a week away from work, and the students had a chance to take a week away from school and be with their families, and family time is always important for all of us, so we're very thankful for that. And also the celebration of the Easter holiday during spring break. Teacher Advisory Council met after we returned from spring break, and that's another good group to meet with. These are folks that represent our schools, and it's always a lot of fun to meet with them. I had a chance Friday to attend the STEAM showcase at MAI, which is it was MAI and MEC at McDowell Tech. That's McDowell Academy for Innovation, McDowell Early College, on the campus of MTCC. Had a very nice event there. So, and then one event that I didn't put on the report today, had the opportunity to meet with a member of the General Assembly, Mr. Ager, who is from Buncombe County, but he came down to visit our Head Start program, and because they were looking to try to improve their Head Start program in Buncombe County, and that was very interesting that his interest in our program, because it's so highly thought of statewide. So you'll hear from Dr. Delaney shortly, and they do a great job. Dr. Delaney and her program, her staff, they do a great job. And then the last thing I have for tonight is in regard to the work session on March 27th. And during that work session, the board heard from the board attorney regarding the need for all school administrators to be updated on current statutes and cases regarding bullying, harassment, and discrimination as defined in law. The board has agreed that legal training for this purpose is a priority for our district at this time. And this training will be part of our summer leadership conference that we have each summer. So we'll be having that. We'll be getting that scheduled, and that will be very meaningful training that we all need to be updated on. That's all I have for my report, sir.
All right. Well, if you would, sir, could we continue on with our student recognitions? And I'm not sure, our students are in the other conference room. Miss Finley, can you grab them? Okay.
Ms. Finley?
I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Mary Finley. She is our Career and Technical Education Director. Started out just at McDowell High School, but now has expanded to East and West Middle Schools as well. And very, very active program, and a lot of students learning a lot of different things.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, good evening. So it's my pleasure to be back here again to recognize the great things we have going on in CTE. So 2 of our career and technical student organizations competed at the state conference last month and this month, and we want to recognize those winners. So I'm going to start with our DECA students. And the students competing in individual series events, Miss Addison Cunningham, she competed in the apparel and accessories and placed 6th overall in the state.
All right.
Miss Olivia Brown competed in the apparel and accessories as well and placed 4th overall in the state. Mr. Gannon Malumbi competed in entrepreneurship and placed 2nd in the state. And in this series of events, the students had to take a 100-question multiple-choice test in the category that they were competing in, and then they were required to do 2 10-minute role plays in front of a judge. And then the test score and role play scores were averaged together to get their overall score. So, all right, our next students that competed in team decision-making events, first, Elise Pritchard and Sophie Pittman. These students competed in the hospitality services team decision-making and placed 2nd in the state.
Appreciate you. Great work. Proud of you. Sophie? Congratulations.
Thank you.
And the same in this event, students had to take a 100-question multiple-choice test, and then as a team, they had to do a 15-minute role play in front of 1 to 3 judges. So, and then again, those scores were averaged to get the overall score. And then next, competing in a virtual business challenge is Mr. Bailey Moss and Tyler Tran. I think we know these gentlemen before. It's been here. And in this virtual business challenge, each team has 2 rounds to play in order to qualify for the ICDC, which is the international conference coming up. During these rounds, they are in charge of running a virtual business, and for this category, they are running a restaurant. They have a virtual year, and usually between 10 to 15 minutes to make as much money as possible. The first round took place in October, and the second round took place in January. Tyler and Bailey placed high enough in the first round to qualify for internationals. And once they get to ICDC, they will compete in 2 live final challenges to see who places at the top of their category. And if you remember, Tyler has won first the last 2 years, and we know he's going to hold on to that title for this year. So we're proud of these students. I also want to recognize our teachers, Ms. Heather Martin. And Mr. Todd Queen. And I want to point out that Heather's been teaching for 10 years, but this is only her second year in marketing with us in CT, and this is Todd's very first year of teaching. So we're very proud of what they have accomplished in this short amount of time. And so these DECA members and teachers will be leaving on Friday to head to the ICDC International Conference and in Orlando, Florida. And we know that they're going to represent us well and make us proud. So congratulations. Scrunch together, scrunch together, scrunch together. That way we're not in the picture.
All right, I think we're good. You look great, too.
I know. It's very professional.
You still got one. We had another group.
We do.
You signed the open ones.
All right, I think we have some more students coming in to be recognized for all their hard work.
Okay, so our next group that I will recognize is our Future Business Leaders of America, otherwise known as FBLA. So at the regional competition, that was held at Haywood County on December the 2nd. And the Regional North Carolina FBLA Board places a limit on the number of students that we can represent McDowell High School with. But those that went to regionals competed very well. And these students placed in the top 4 in their subject area, allowing them to continue on at the state level. So Miss Carmen Ramirez Rodriguez placed first place in accounting. And she is a senior at McDowell High School. Okay, she's not here. And at the region, Mr. James Price placed first place in business communications. Okay, he's on his way. We'll come back to him. Miss Rebecca Lawen placed second in the intro to public speaking.
If you're second in public speaking, I can use some coaching. Good job.
I also want to point out that she is a freshman and today is her birthday. So happy birthday. And then Jenna Rankin placed fourth place in public speaking at the regional.
Great job.
And then our students moved on to attend the state competition in Greensboro on March the 23rd through the 25th. And the hospitality and event management, students qualified for the state competition by completing an objective test and placing in the top 15 at the regional competition. And at the state level, they had to present a case study to the judges. So Miss Gracie Patterson and Katie Shosho placed fourth place in hospitality and event management in the state.
Thank you.
And in the business management, students qualified for state competition by, again, completing an objective test and placing in the top 15. And at the state competition, students were given a case study to prepare and present. And in second place in the state in business management is Miss Emerson Presley and Mr. James Price. And next, I would like to introduce our wonderful business teachers, Miss Angie Allison and Miss Courtney Interest. Angie has been with us, Miss Allison, a while in CTE, but I'd also like to point out that this is Miss Interest's first year as well teaching. And they have made a great team, and they have revived our FBLA program. And I also want to point out that this is the first time in over a decade that McDowell High School FBLA has qualified for the national convention. So we are super, super proud of that. And these state winners will now go on to the National Leadership Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, June the 27th through the 30th. And we know they're going to bring home the gold there and do great things and represent us well. No pressure, but no pressure. So we're very proud of this. So congratulations.
Great job.
Good job. We want to take one quick second and tell you about our new upcoming boutique. If you remember when you were at the high school and did the tour, we're almost ready. So we want these teachers to share a little bit of information about that.
All right.
Awesome.
Yes, we would love to introduce to you and take a moment to talk to you about Moxie. That is our completely student-run and student-led boutique. I have the pleasure of having it attached to my classroom, so I get the distinct honor of getting to work with it quite intimately with my Entrepreneurship 2 class. In this, the students have completely helped make all the decisions on what fixtures are going into the store, the mannequins that we bought to display our merchandise, and they even are going through the process of buying, quote unquote, the merchandise from the wonderful donations that we have received. By the way, we need more, particularly men's clothes. So hint, hint, please bring us stuff. And so the students get the distinct, unique opportunity to help open a store from the ground up. They have made decisions on understanding the pricing structure to a promotional plan, as well as a strategic plan to help ensure that we continue on in this program for years to come and it doesn't just stop with them. We are incredibly proud of them, and the talent that we have at McDowell High School is definitely something to be proud of and something that we do not take lightly. So thank you for your contribution, and we'd like to invite you on May 26th from about 8:30 to 10. Please come see us. We'll give you more details to come, but please enjoy the first invitation that's been sent out. And that design was brought to life by one of our very own, Mr. Wesley Minish, who is with his Skills USA team competing. He's also a cohort of our CTE program, and we are delighted to be able to work together. So thank you very much for your time, and we can't wait to see you in May. Thank you.
All right, so ladies, thank you very much. Especially, I would just like to recognize Ms. Finley. We hear great things about our CTE program all the time. And the fact that we have brand new teachers in some of our programs, and in one program, one brand new teacher and one teacher who's new to the program, right? And they're still doing great things, and that's DECA. FBLA is coming back on the scene for the first time in a while and doing a great job. Now, my personal experience, I started in education way back in 1996 as a business ed teacher at Watauga High School. So I certainly appreciate what you folks do. And thank you for your efforts, and thank you for the way you represent McDowell County and McDowell High School. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, we will hear from our District Teacher of the Year, Ms. Kelly Phillips.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Oliver and Mr. English and members of the board. As always, it is an honor to be back in front of you. I don't know when I'm ever going to not be nervous, so I apologize to the crowd. I'm used to 5-year-olds, for those of you who don't know me, and so speaking in front of all these adults makes me a little bit nervous. But this month, I want to share with you another highlight from the high school. So those of you who know me know that I teach kindergarten, and my realm is K-6, and I truly believe that God places a calling on each person's life, and I thank Him so much for allowing me to work with little children, because when I set foot in front of teenagers, including my own and their friends, it makes me extremely nervous. But I did get to go spend a little bit of time with Miss Bennett at the high school about 2 months ago and talk to her a little bit about something amazing that is happening there at the high school. So for those of you who don't know, teachers like to use a lot of letters and a lot of acronyms. So my husband is somewhere out here, my dad, and anyone who has teachers in your family, you're going to hear us throw out words like SOR, PBL, PLCs, MTSS, RTI. And so if you hear those letters, just know that they all have meaning. And so members of the board, MTSS, multi-tier system of support. This is something that the state has implemented a long time ago. When I first started teaching about 18 years ago, we had care teams. We were looking for students who were at risk for something, and it evolved into RTI, response to intervention. Now RTI falls under MTSS. So MTSS is multi-tier system of support. And I know that anyone who's heard me speak throughout this year, the goal of every teacher in this county, whether you teach kindergarten, preschool, Head Start, high school, 13th grade at the early college, if you're part of the community college system, the goal is for every child, every student to find success. It is our responsibility to be able to find ways that help them be successful. And we know that every child, every student, they're not going to be successful in the same ways. But we are going to find ways to help them do what they need to do, be the person they need to be, so that when they graduate high school, when they graduate from our community colleges, they can come back to our community because that's what we want, and they can be a thriving member of our society. So at the high school, they do it a little bit differently. When I hear MTSS in kindergarten, we are finding students who, when they are tested on reading and math, they might have some gaps. So in elementary school, we are filling in the gaps by providing interventions in reading and math and skills like that. But high school is a little differently. They are doing that. They are filling in the gaps for the core, but it goes a little bit beyond that. So what MTSS is, the definition, it's defined as a comprehensive framework designed to address the academic, behavioral, and social emotional needs of each student in the most inclusive and equitable learning environment. More than just RTI, it is a whole school framework that organizes the people, programs, and policies into an integrated support system that begins in Tier 1. 2 years ago, maybe 3, I was able to hear Miss Bennett when I went to teacher leadership at NCAT. And like I said, it's a whole school framework. If you have not been able to hear her presentation that she has presented for the regional, she's presented to the whole region. And they came and they wanted to hear her present. I encourage you guys, get her to present because she's going to do a way better job than me, but I'm just going to hit the highlights. But the high school is really doing a great job, especially when you look at the whole school. How can they help each student be successful? So if you look at this upside down pyramid, or the pyramid's not upside down, we start at the bottom. Every student in our county is Tier 1. They're receiving core instruction. Tier 2, they need a little bit of support. They're strategic. And then by the time you reach Tier 3, they need intensive support. So for those teacher talk, we know what this means. We have to layer upon layer upon layer to get what students need. But the thing that you need to understand is every student, all means all. All students can be successful. We can find interventions that will help them. And the high school's doing a great job of this. So what are they doing for that bottom level? Tier 1 instruction. They're focusing on their core. So one thing that Ms. Bennett has done and what they've done at the high school is at the beginning of this year, they had 10 teaching strategies that they focused on. She presented that. And that was part of their PDP. Like I said, we love acronyms. PDP is your professional development plan. So each teacher got to choose three of those that they wanted to focus on in their classrooms. There was professional development that was delivered at the BOI at the beginning of the year. Like I said, we love acronyms. So each teacher was then asked to choose 3 of those 10 to implement throughout the year. And what Ms. Bennett is doing and what they're doing at faculty meetings is they are choosing teachers who are highlighting these each month. And so then they get to showcase ways that they're focusing on these strategies, because the strategies that teachers use is what's helping the students become successful. So one of the things that they're doing is Titan Pride. So in 2018, the high school started working on classroom management skills. Then they focused on building relationships and providing stability for students. I know we've heard a lot, especially in the last several years. Our students are not going to be successful without the relationships that we build with those. It's not just relationships with the teachers. It's not just relationships with it has to be a whole school. We have to build that community. If a child feels like they're involved, they're going to be successful. So Titan Pride homerooms were implemented back several years ago. The students remain in those homerooms throughout 4 years here at the high school. So they have one common person to come back to, a group that they can, someone that they can have support with, someone that they're going to rely on. And so they meet Tuesday and Thursdays of each week. And by next year, what they're going to do is they're going to use that time to provide Tier 2 instruction. So Tier 2, remember, Tier 1, everybody's at Tier 1. We're all getting those instructions. Tier 2, they might need a little bit of support, a little bit extra. So that is where it's going to be provided at the high school level. Elementary is slightly different. We do Tier 2 kind of differently. But high school, I like this idea. So some of the training that the teachers have been provided, they've had impact to help the teachers. What impact can they have on students? So it's not just academics. We know that by the time a student reaches high school, the core, the foundational skills they need to have already been met, like the basic skills. So now they are trying to find other things, environmental interactions, reflecting on how do the students feel in the classroom, strong and more supportive relationships. They've had character strong training. I did that presentation. It's something that the whole county is doing. I did that one back in December. So I imagine it's very similar to the character strong that we're doing, just for high schoolers, not so much for elementary. They've had Amy Dean come in, some of her training, and then PSYOP training. And the one thing that I thought was, one thing I want to mention, when I was in high school, a couple years ago, back in, I graduated in 2000, Titan Pride was not the same thing. So when Miss Bennett was telling me about Titan Pride, I said, I was part of Titan Pride. I got a sticker that let me park in a special parking spot. That's what Titan Pride was for us. So it's great that it's still the same name, but it's something a little different. But so another thing that they're very proud of, and this is what impressed me the most, was the Titan Bridge. So I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Miss Bennett about Titan Bridge, but Titan Bridge does focus on the core. They brought it back for students who just need that extra support but might not get it at home. So some of the activities that they're doing in Titan Bridge, they have reading skills, social skills, they have field trips to colleges. Next year, Ms. Bennett mentioned that they're going to take field trips around the county. There's some students who may have never even been to restaurants around our county. So they're going to take these and give them the experiences that they need just to see what our community offers. The great thing about this class is they get an English credit plus a Titan Bridge credit. So they're kind of getting 2 credits from that. How are these students selected? It's based on feedback from their 8th grade teachers. And the 8th grade teachers suggest Titan Bridge students that they're not major discipline kids. It might just be those kids who fall between the cracks. Because remember, the purpose of MTSS is to find all the students, provide everyone with that multi-tiered system of support. So the students who might be falling back, they could be students who are EC or exceptional children, or it could be students who are just in the standard classes. But there are 4 EC teachers and 4 devoted teachers who have agreed. And I know that one of the teachers is Miss Holly Keller, who is one of their teachers of the year. And I know from experience, I had her son in 4th grade. So she's amazing. But they're working closely together. They have agreed to stay with these students all 4 years. The success rate of passing their other classes has increased each year since it's been implemented. And of the students who were predicted to possibly not graduate, out of that group, they are still staying in the program. They're there, and it's 25 students per class, so there's 100 students who are being impacted through Titan Bridge. And like I said, for me, I didn't really fully understand what MTSS looked like at the high school level. I'm used to seeing students who just, we're going to go and we're going to do reading fluency, and we're going to do math addition facts. But it's more than that. We know that if you saw back on that first slide that I presented, when you look at it, it's not just the academic. It's not just behavioral. It's social emotional. It's all the needs. And we know now more than ever, especially coming back the last 2 years after COVID, our kids have more behavioral and social emotional issues than ever before. For people in the community, I wish that you could see how hard teachers are working.
Amen.
We love these kids. We love them, and we want what's best for them. Whether you teach kindergarten or whether you teach 13th graders in early college, every teacher that I know loves these kids. And our hearts hurt when we see them hurting. But classes like Titan Bridge and the social emotional, I promise you we are doing everything we can to give them what they need. And they are loved. And we will keep doing that. And it's going to be programs like the Titan Bridge at the high school. It's going to be that social emotional learning, making sure that they are not just passing the academics, because that is important. And you heard me present on science of reading, and I am a firm believer, and I will preach that forever because it's amazing. But we have to meet them where they are. And we are doing that, and we are taking, Miss Bennett has done a fabulous job. I really encourage you to have her come present to you because she's going to knock it out of the park way better than me. I got to hear a couple years ago. It's great, the things that are happening. And as scared as I am of teenagers, I would gladly go watch her in action at the high school, but teenagers scare me a little bit. It's okay. But every child deserves to be successful. Every child in McDowell County is loved and cared for, and we are providing everything we can to make sure that every child graduates, not just with the academics that they need, but with the skills that they need to be successful and come back and thrive in our community. And for those who don't want to come back, thrive wherever the Lord wants them to be. Thank you.
Good job.
Ms. Phillips, I don't feel like I did justice to letters training as far as letting people know what that is about. You know it much
I
better
know
than I
letters
do.
training.
Would you just tell the folks what letters training was about?
So letters training, the state of North Carolina has given legislation telling us that every teacher needs to be trained in the science of reading. Woohoo! I love it. And it's amazing. So the science of reading, it's going back to teaching the basic fundamentals of how the brain works. How are we going to teach these children to read? It starts out with environmental print. So those of you who may not know, it was 96 hours of training. And it was hard. It's basically equivalent of a master's level course. Every teacher, every elementary teacher in McDowell County has taken it. But if they're just a first year teacher, they're starting it now. Every teacher in North Carolina who teaches elementary school will have this training done. I don't know when. We got lucky, we got it done first. It was hard, it was a lot of work, but the purpose of it is so that we better know how to teach our kids to read. And I promise you, it works. I have taken those. I've seen colleagues who may have been trained under some different types of, I know when I came through college, it was balanced literacy. And we were just teaching, let's look at this book, and we're going to look at the first letter and look at the picture and kind of, if you don't know what it says, just guess what it says. But no, we are teaching kids to read. I have kindergartners who are sounding out multisyllable words, who are reading paragraphs, who came to me not knowing a single letter, and they are, it is amazing. So members of the public, go into your elementary classrooms, ask someone to show you. You are welcome. Anybody who wants to come to my classroom, you can come any day, anytime. I promise. I'm not going to be offended. Just check in at the office. You can come in. It's great. So letters training, LETRS. Crystal, hand me, what is that? I don't even remember what it stands for. It's just language, something. I don't know what it stands for. I know the SOR is science of reading. Like I said, teachers love acronyms. I just call it letters training. It's 2 years of training. You get 96 hours with going back. How is the brain wired? How do we teach? What are we going to do to make sure that every child can read? It's great stuff.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Phillips, thank you. Thank you again. Ms. Smith, is there any correspondence for the board this evening? No correspondence. Okay, so we've come to that time on the agenda. Excuse me. When the board hears public comment, and each person has signed, that desires to speak, has signed a request to address the board. And they'll be called in the order in which they were received. But before we get started, I need to read this to you. We welcome you to our meeting tonight. You're invited to address the board through this public comment session. It's a time for you to address the board, and it's a time for the board to listen to you. Board members won't respond except to request a clarification of a point you have made. However, incorrect or misleading information may be responded to at the direction of the board chair. You're allowed to address the board concerning any topic that's within this board's jurisdiction, but pursuant to confidentiality concerns and matters related to due process, this board will not hear issues or concerns, either positive or negative, regarding specific employees or students. Now, if you have a concern about a specific employee or student matter, please contact Mr. Brian Oliver here, our interim superintendent, after the meeting. We believe that you folks will be respectful when you're addressing the public and the board, but we do have to say that disruptions by any person are unlawful. Now, you're allowed to speak for 3 minutes, and you can only speak once during this portion of public comment. Multiple speakers presenting for the same topic may choose one speaker for the group who shall be allocated no more than 5 minutes. So, our first person that signed up to address the board this evening is Ms. Bonnie Childers, and she is speaking on behalf of a group of folks, and so Ms. Childers has been allowed up to 5 minutes to speak to the board this evening. And the topic she would like to address the board on is either vote or non-vote on the DEI initiative / Dream Builders. Now, when you get Ms. Childers, Ms. Dowell does not own a joy buzzer, I promise. So when she taps you on the shoulder, you won't get a charge.
I timed it carefully.
Okay. You can begin whenever you're ready, and Ms. Dowell will let you know when you have this.
I'll make a motion that we
Hear public comment.
recognize them to speak.
Okay. Oh, well, I guess I got ahead of myself then, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Frank makes a motion to hear the public and public comment.
I'll second it.
Ms. Mumal makes a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Okay, so the motion carries 9-0, and we're set to go. Ms. Childers, the floor is yours.
My name is Bonnie Childers. My husband John was a teacher in McDowell County for 29 years. My father-in-law was principal at North Cove School. My mother-in-law, sister-in-law, great aunt, and niece are or have been teachers in McDowell County, so I have a history in McDowell. I'm so very thankful and want to thank the board that you will no longer at this time seek to initiate DEI in our schools. But I find it deeply disturbing that our McDowell County School Board even considered it. And even though the issue has been dropped, I will speak on it today, as I believe it deserves a closer look. Like so many things that have made headlines lately, Build Back Better or the Inflation Reduction Act, the name implies one thing, but the reality is exactly the opposite. The same is true for DEI. Diversity, equity, and inclusion implies that it is about fairness and stopping racism and discrimination. After last month's meeting, I did extensive research on just what DEI is, and I found it does the exact opposite of what it claims. Most eye-opening was an article in the Wall Street Journal entitled "The Woke Indoctrination Machine," where 2 journalists studied leaked videos of actual DEI workshops, and I emailed each of you that article. So just what did these videos show about DEI? Diversity. Up until a few weeks ago, Silicon Valley Bank loved to brag about the diversity of their board of directors.
trouble is, only one of them had any banking experience. And we all know what happened. To give someone preference for anything because of an extraneous physical characteristic like skin color is the very definition of racism. DEI training teaches that because of your skin color, you are automatically an oppressor, privileged, or a victim. And if you don't think you're a victim, they have a workshop to teach you that you are. DEI teaches that white supremacy culture and its characteristics need to be eliminated. Now, who wouldn't agree with that? I certainly do. But then you look at what the characteristics are that they list. Worship of the written word, niceness, punctuality, objectivity, individualism, and capitalism, according to DEI, need to be eliminated. Equity. We're living in a world where equity and equality have gotten mixed up, and I don't think that's by accident. In this country, our Constitution and Bill of Rights guarantees everyone equal opportunity, not a guarantee of equal outcome. We are free to succeed, and we are free to fail. Equity wipes out personal responsibility. Inclusion. I could spend all day on this one, but as I'm limited to 5 minutes, I'll only say this. We, the people of McDowell County, will not allow biological males in our girls' restrooms and locker rooms. We will not allow the biological males to destroy our girls' sports. We will not allow the mutilation or sexualization of little kids. And lastly, I say this in all seriousness, we will not allow the Marxist indoctrination of our children. In closing, last month, a young lady spoke about how she and her classmates became angry when they learned on a trip about the 1965 civil rights history of Selma, Alabama. They were angry that they had never been taught it in school. I absolutely agree. Our schools must teach history. This is a time when we desperately need the wisdom and teaching of Dr. Martin Luther King, especially when he said he looked for a day when people would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Yes, sadly, because of the threat of ideologies like DEI, we are still looking for that day. Thank you.
Okay, the next person who signed up to address the board this evening is Neil Shunke. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and he wants to speak on DEI concerns, and I take it from your request here that you're not speaking on behalf of a group.
No.
Okay, so Mr. Shunke, you have 3 minutes, and Ms. Dowdle may tap you on the shoulder when you're getting close.
Okay. I think we've heard from Teacher of the Year that every teacher loves these kids. And I think we believe that we've hired good teachers that love our students. And to take and say that we need someone, a whole program, to take and re-indoctrinate them because they don't love our students, either they're wrong-headed or they're stupid, goes against our whole meaning. It's demeaning to our teachers. But I also want to take and say that even if the program was free, that this is not something that I would want for our children. DEI would be a new focus for us. But is it going along with our Pledge of Allegiance? One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looking at diversity. I mean, we're going to take and put names on people and give them labels and put them in a box. That's not one nation. Dude, is that what we want for our children? We had one person that spoke last time. I listened to her, and she said she was always ashamed to be Hispanic. Dude, would we not rather that she was proud to be an American? That idea of dividing into special groups with special privileges goes so far against the grain of our country. We want to be a melting pot. And I thought, listen to Bonnie Childers, and she spoke very eloquently right there. Martin Luther King. I dream of one day when we won't look at the color of skin, but the character. And I mean, when she spoke about inclusion, second that. Listening to Dr. Kenson, he was very enjoyable to listen to. But he said something that should raise a warning flag about DEI. He said we should all become familiar with Inclusion Plus. That means not just taking and welcoming each person and treating them equally, but to give them special rights. And so that comes down to, okay, biological males in the women's locker room. And that means not just allowing, but welcoming them into these personal spaces. And that is not fair. That is not equitable in any way, shape, or form to our women. Okay? So what I would specifically ask the board, because I know that there's been discussions about making a DEI statement, I would ask you, no, please not. Okay? That instead, one sentence, all persons will be treated fairly.
Okay. Next up is Ms. Linda Brown, and she put down that she wants to speak to the board in support of the board. And I take it you're not speaking on behalf of a group?
No.
Okay.
May
Okay.
I approach the board and give a copy of my letter?
Well, you may. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know how many to make. So
Okay.
there's one between each of these. And
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Ms. Brown, since you're speaking on your own behalf, you have 3 minutes that you can say what's on your mind to the board.
Well, I think everything is pretty much there, so I will read it except for my closing line, which, and also I do want to take time to really support and say I appreciate the board's decision to inform and teach our teachers the legal outlines or whatever it is that you referred to as far as educating them on how to handle different things. So my name is Linda Brown, and I speak to this school board tonight in support of your decision to dismiss the services of Dream Builders and hopefully any future outside organizations which may further escalate departure from the disciplines required in successful education of our children and adults. I enclose a short excerpt taken from the University of Michigan's web page to verify the incompetency of comparisons like those their website displays. To compare education with partying is not only incompetent but irresponsible, in my opinion, a departure from reality. Yes, education should be fun. However, partying is hardly the proper perspective with the rigorous disciplines of education which our country desperately needs to regain our once former recognition of being highly competitive on the world stage. Verbatim taking from University of Michigan's website. Our chief inaugural officer, Robert Sellers, often emphasized the importance of all 3 topics, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which he likened to varying aspects of attending a party. Diversity is where everyone is invited to the party. Inclusion means that everyone gets to contribute to the playlist. Equity means that everyone has the opportunity to dance or experience the music. How our country has come to accept an institution of higher learning approaching the education of adults in the name of preparing them for success in life with this mindset is nothing shy of a travesty. This is a blatant attack on exclusion from America's education system, Christian doctrines that were taught in the founding of our educational systems in America. Trying to remake, rename, or rebrand the foundational truths key in Christian scriptural doctrines to steal God's glory or exclude his namesake has been responsible in many minds across this country and county and brought the disastrous outcomes which we see nightly in our news. I'm informed that I cannot carry on, but there is another sentence or paragraph. But in closure, I offer continual encouragement and personal involvement by sharing ideas for promoting peaceful environment in McDowell County Public Schools. I have a BA in art studio, which it occurred to me to offer my time and energy with creating signage within our schools. So I am here, whatever I can offer to help make things a more peaceful and productive atmosphere in our schools.
Okay, thank you. Okay. The next person who signed up was Mr. William Bach, and he wants to address the board regarding DEI. And sir, I take it that you're also not speaking on behalf of a group. Okay. So he has asked for 3 minutes, and you may begin whenever you are ready.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bill Bach. For the last 4 years, I have sat as a board of trustees over here at McDowell Tech Community College. I got a pretty good idea what you're all up against. One of the things that we offer over there is a course called Social Diversity. It is mandatory, I repeat, mandatory by the North Carolina University system. With everything that's going on and people asking me, how did we get to this situation? I enrolled myself in this course and exposed myself to it to see what it was all about. It's nothing more than the social and emotional indoctrination of our children. It affects business. It's worked its way into our corporations. MTSS, I learned something tonight. The letter system. On the bottom of it says all means all. We owe that to our kids. All means all to start that education. We also sat and watched a parade of the best that we've got. In the top 10 in our state, they didn't get there through diversity, equity, inclusion. They worked for it. Diversity, equity, and inclusion should be nothing more than the golden rule. But it has become hyperextended to the point that diversity is used as a wedge to drive between different groups of people. Equity, the sacred game of baseball. You strike out at the plate, you get to go to first base. You hit to the grounder to the shortstop, he throws you out at first, you still get to go to first base. You bounce one off the home run wall, maybe almost a triple, you got to stop at first base. Where's the incentive? These students that paraded before us tonight knew the difference. They could see through it. 84%, WLS did a report that came off Stanford University. 84% of the people that they talk to about DEI will lie. They'll lie if they're confident enough they know that they're not going to get bit in the butt for what they say because we live in the shadows of lawsuits. 84% of them will lie to you. I know that we're going to make an attempt, so I thank you for doing it. My only caution is when you're going through the training that we're going to do, please proceed with an open mind and do not become indoctrinated yourself. Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Dr. Eric Grindstaff, and he wants to address the board on DEI. And sir, are you speaking as an individual or on behalf of a group? It's a little unclear.
On behalf of a group.
Okay. So, Dr. Grindstaff, you have 5 minutes allotted under the rules, and you may begin whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Eric Grindstaff. I'm the pastor of Grace Baptist Church, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of CPR. Let me say to you as the board, thank you for your service. And we thank you for your decision concerning DEI. Tonight, I speak for myself, a group of pastors, several churches, many teachers in our school system that we pastor, and many students. I'm going to share something a little strange in this meeting, but it's my wheelhouse. Romans chapter number 2, verse 11 says, "For there is no respect of persons with God." The Greek word that is translated respect means favoritism or partiality. With God, there is no favoritism. With God, there is no partiality. This issue has been most concerning to us. We want to be on the record tonight with you saying, without any doubt, we are opposed to this. We are diabolically opposed to racism. We are diabolically opposed to the mistreatment of any individual. We want to be clear with what we disagree about. I can't speak to all the issues with my time, but let me speak to equity. We disagree with the principles that are brought up with equity. We are for equality. This is the equal treatment of every individual. Equity seeks to place value on an individual and devalue other individuals. When you get into some of the teachings we are taught through DEI, that there are some folks who are benefactors because of what area they fall into, and others are oppressors because of what area they fall into. According to this, the greatest oppressor is a white male over the age of 50 who is a Christian. According to that, ladies and gentlemen, I am an oppressor. Personally, I'm highly offended at that. Anyone who would say that of me doesn't know me nor the intent of my heart. Many of you sitting on this board, I have worked side by side with you in areas in our community to see that those who are underprivileged of our community get the resources that they need and the help that they need. I am told that one of the greatest reasons that I am an oppressor is because of my Christian faith, of which I am not ashamed. Amen. As a matter of fact, my Christian faith ought to be celebrated by the community. Because it is my Christian faith that has taught me that all individuals are created in the image of God. And for that reason, they are worthy of respect. They are worthy of honor. From the time of my childhood, I have been taught red, yellow, black, and white. They're all precious in His sight. That's the way that I feel tonight. To label me a racist, and by the way, that's why many will not speak out. Because we are worried about how we will come across to our community. That we will be labeled a racist because we oppose these principles. You'll have to convince the Hispanic children through the years that have come through my church. You'll have to walk with me in Walmart, look down to the other end of the aisle, and watch the children of color come around when they see me at the other end. And run down the aisle of Walmart crying, Preacher Eric. And running and grabbing me around the knees and loving on me. We are concerned that the board has allowed this issue to go as far as it has. We applaud what you have done. We stand with our county commissioners in the decision that they have made. And in the future, if need be, we will go to them and ask them to fulfill the promise that they made. Thank you.
Okay. Next person who desires to address the board this evening is Taylor White and wants to speak on diversity and equity. And are you representing the group or speaking individually?
Same representing teachers who are speaking out against DEI. Can I do, or for it? Can I say it? Have my 5 minutes?
Well, you didn't sign up as addressing speaking on behalf of a group. So maybe, can you say what you need to say in 3?
I'll try.
I bet you can. All right.
All right, y'all. So I didn't know we were going to church today, and this is off script, but I'll start with the fact that Jesus, right, he prefers equity, okay? The people who walked by the beggar, they were experiencing equality. They were allowing the person to suffer because they were at a disadvantage. Equity is when Jesus stood them up and helped them see. That's what equity is. My name is Taylor White. I'm a 6th grade teacher, and I've been a teacher in McDowell County Schools for 2 years. They say use your privilege, so here I am. I'm privileged to be able to speak my mind about the current system as I transition out of education after this year. I would like to speak on behalf of equity and diversity inclusion in the classroom. In my class, we shed light on those who have not traditionally been visible. To elaborate, I must first give this explanation. The schooling most of us received come from the great man theory, a system in which our history has been told by glorifying 1 or 2 individuals about a purpose or incident that was not entirely their own. This means that you can tell me about Martin Luther King Jr., but can you tell me about Mahalia Jackson? King's long-term friend who stood with him, sang with him, and even encouraged him to give the I Have a Dream speech. You can talk about Robert Frost and the road he took, but can you tell me about the hill that a man before me climbed? My students can talk about people like Yuyi Morales, a Mexican-American who came to this country, a non-native speaker, learned English from the books she received, and now she is a renowned author and illustrator that celebrates her cultures, like in her bilingual book, Dreamers. My kids know the name of Kwame Alexander, an African-American author who has tackled more genres and topics than most could ever dream. As I type this, I look toward my bookshelf, seeing topics covered from indigenous stories to tales of slavery, the civil rights movement, ASD and dyslexia, as well as school shootings, the Holocaust, and Stalin's tyranny in Russia. All of these are grade-level appropriate texts, and they've all been uplifted through some type of academic means, as in they've been picked up by Scholastic, they've received children's literature awards, etc. My students deserve to see their whole self represented in their academic resources. Their whole self includes not only their cultural, ethnic, religious, or extracurricular identity, but they should also be able to see their own family dynamic in these resources as well. As in, students should be exposed to different home lives that might not include a mom, dad, or a yellow dog. My kids are more important than feelings or tradition. My kids already know who they are, and according to Rudine Sims Bishop, a well-respected researcher of children's literature, it is my job to show them who they can be by accessing mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. To skip ahead, sliding glass doors allow students to step into a world they may not have much experience with. I'm here to stand up for teachers who are finding these resources on our own, and I'm standing up to any bully who tries to tell me that my students do not deserve to be seen in their education. If someone chooses to protect tradition, they are not protecting students. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. The next person that wants to address the board this evening is Dr. Tom Walker, and he wants to speak on DEI, and you are also representing the CPR group. Is that right?
CPR, am I representing?
Okay.
Can we take a vote?
Well, I'm just trying to see whether,
Okay.
you
Well,
need
I'm
5 or
with the
3.
group, so
Say what?
I'm with the group,
Okay. All right.
but I'll be brief. It won't take me 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. You can begin whenever you're ready, sir.
I'm Dr. Tom Walker. I'm pastor of Zion Hill Baptist Church and president of Foothills Baptist Bible College. I was born and raised in McDowell County. I love this county, and I want the best for it and for our children. I'm concerned about the mentality that we feel we need others to come into our county to solve our problems. Do we not have the intelligence and the training? I believe we do, to solve our own problems. Why bring people in who probably have a different set of values than we've got? It just doesn't add up to me. And the majority is not for working toward a woke agenda. I found out in my church that some things, if I start, it's going to lead to something else. So it's better off to take care of something right up front instead of one thing leading to something else that's undesirable. I believe our people are bright enough and intelligent enough to take care of our problems locally. If I were a principal and the school board brought somebody in to tell me, after I'd been trained to be a principal, to come in and tell me how to direct my school, I would be offended. School board, I want to ask you a question. Do we have the intelligence to take care of our problems? Do we? I believe we do. I believe we have the ability to do it, and let's do it. Let's take care of our own problems.
All right. Okay. All right. There are no others that have signed up to address the board this evening, so we'll close this portion of public comment and we'll move along to item number 11, unfinished business. And Mr. Oliver,
Hold on.
there's one more? Okay. We don't want to give everybody a chance. Oh, that's right. I forgot all about it. Mr. Patnood, you wanted to address the board on this.
It's been well said. Everything has, I guess I'm just like Bill Stanley, who's from here, principal in Asheville, said, though, he was a Native American redneck. I probably am. I always thought DEI stood for Dale Earnhardt Race. That poor man'd be rolling in his grave right now. This garbage. Anyway, I'm a Christian. I think a lot of these folks in here will say the same thing. And we all know God didn't make mistakes.
Amen. Amen.
Little boys or males were created, and females were created.
Yes.
You do have a choice. You've got a choice when you're 21 to buy liquor and hard drink. But it shouldn't be when you're 7 or 17 in our schools. The other thing I'd like, and I'm done because everything's been well said, but we were spending $24,000 on this project. And 2 months ago I was in here. We talked about money for your reading letters program. Give it to her if we've got the $24,000. Let's use it. Let's use it where we can benefit and the children can really benefit from it. Reading's the best thing. It can take you everywhere. It can take you everywhere. Let's use it that way. Thank you.
All right. Again, Mr. Patnood, I apologize. I almost overlooked you. Yes, sir. Also, just for the public record, there is a statement here from a large group of people that we'll also put in our public record.
We'll give it to you.
Okay. Okay, then we'll continue on. And the next item, number 11 on our agenda this evening, unfinished business. We need to talk and update the public on McDowell High School tennis courts and multi-purpose field project. And Mr. Oliver, would you care to lead that for us, sir?
Yes, sir. So I have great news today. Our grading contractor, which is a local company of Bennett Graders, they broke ground today and started with the demo of the 2 older buildings down at the practice field. And they'll also be, they brought in equipment today, and they'll start demo work on the fencing tomorrow if they didn't already start that as well. And then they'll start removal of the first set of trees that will be taken out to make way for the erosion control basin. And then after that, once that's in place, then you'll start to work on the retaining wall portions of the project. So we have broken ground, so things are moving. Excited about that.
All right. It's been a long process, but things are starting to happen now.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a real quick question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When are the courts projected to be completed, and when does tennis season start?
Okay, sir. So Mr. Suttles asked that question when we met with the gentleman who's running the project. I guess we'll call him the project manager, and from Wilkie Construction. And sir, remind me, but didn't he say 240 days from breaking ground?
It's in his opinion, it will not be ready for women's tennis season, which comes first, but it should be ready for the men's tennis season. The practice field, we're going to try to jump on that as soon as the men's tennis is over. Demolition of the courts to do the practice field, so we can save time to keep our football players cut time to make the practice there instead of busting them down to a lower field somewhere.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. No, those are good questions. And Mr. Suttles had asked that very question to the project manager when he was with us at the last special call board meeting. So, good question.
Okay. If there's nothing else, then we'll move along to item 12, new business. And Dr. Delaney from Head Start is here to present about the non-federal match waiver.
Good evening.
The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, good evening. It is my pleasure to come to you again this evening and talk to you a little bit about our Head Start non-federal match waiver. I know when we did our board training, we discussed this a little more in depth, and you did receive a copy of this in your packet, so you've had time to look over that. I will just briefly review that the federal government gives Head Start our budget, and then they tell us that you must match that with non-federal share, which is community donations, cash donations from the community to match 20% of the amount of funding that they give the program. So I have been director for 8 years now, and we have, well before my time and my time as director, we have had to ask for a waiver from the federal government as we have not met our non-federal match that they are requiring us to meet that 20%. So there is a lot of programs. This is not unique to McDowell County. There is a lot of the larger programs in Head Start that are a little more capable and able to get those community donations and that cash donation in and able to meet those waivers. But a lot of the smaller, more rural counties do have to ask for a waiver for this non-federal match. So you do have a copy of the waiver and a copy of the budget justification. The budget justification just details the amount of non-federal match that we have collected up until this point, and it shows you the amount that we are requesting. And you can see on the first page of the waiver, we are requesting a waiver of $207,623 of our $514,621 that is required. So we did collect almost $307,000 in non-federal match.
Okay.
I will be happy to answer any questions if you have it.
Now, the non-federal matching, just for the public, and I know there's a lot of church groups here, that includes donations of supplies and materials.
The rule of thumb for what we can count as non-federal match is if our program can spend our program funds to purchase it or to pay for it, then we can count that as non-federal match. So we do have a lot of donations of clothing that has to go home with children or food to go home with children. Those are not things that we can purchase with our funds, so that is not something we can count as match. We can count things like diapers, wipes, formula, baby food. classroom materials, those types of things, because those are things that the federal government has given us the funds to purchase with. So we can count things like that.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Delaney and the non-federal share match waiver request? So is there a motion then to approve the non-federal share match waiver? Okay. Mr. Suttles makes the motion. Is Mr. Shuford makes the second. Any further discussion? If not, then all in favor, right hand, and the excuse me, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
Dr. Delaney, I just want to say again, great job today with the visit from the General Assembly member, and also great job this morning with your monthly brief.
Thank you. It's been a busy day.
It has.
Thank you.
I received a flyer this morning for Head Start, and it's, when junk mail comes, you glance at it, to see the child's face that you guys used on that, and what it put together, it was really put together well.
Thank you.
Continue that, where everyone can see that. I actually read this one before I threw it away.
Good.
I'm old now, I don't have that many grandchildren in the future.
Right.
Not yet. But thanks for doing that.
Thank you. I will pass that word along to the person that designed it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next under new business is recommended board approved local leave. And I'm going to ask Mr. Oliver to begin the presentation, and then Ms. Rampy to provide details should the board need more.
Yes, sir. So this is something that Ms. Rampy and I have discussed several times since Christmas time. We thought this would be the most appropriate time as we're approaching the end of the school year. And this is a way for the board to say thank you to all of our full-time staff for all of the hard work, for the mandated staff development that they've had to complete over the past 2 years. It's been hard. It's been a lot of hard work. I know in your listening sessions as part of the superintendent search, you've heard a lot about the hard work. And some of you have heard more about it, through former colleagues and family members. It has been tough. The letters training alone was extremely difficult for our elementary grade staff. But there's also been other mandated staff development that our secondary teachers had to do because we were doing mandated staff development for the elementaries. So folks have worked hard, and this is a way for the board at no cost to anyone in the county or any of our staff or any of our taxpayers, just to say thank you to our staff for all of their hard work. And I'll let Ms. Rampy talk to the technicality of how bonus leave days can be used.
Okay. Once the board approves that, we will add 3 days for any staff to be able to use between now and June 30th. A couple of the specifics are that they can't be used on student days because we don't want to affect students. There are 5 work days at the end of the calendar, but we know some, especially elementary, may be working those 5 work days at the end of the calendar. So if they are not going to take those days off, we can switch those for days that they have taken either in spring break, Christmas break, some other time, which would then just increase their annual leave balance that they could take off at a different time. And so that will be working with the individual bookkeepers as far as if there's leave time taken or if we switch those times out. They do not have a cash value that can't be cashed out if they were to leave. They aren't paid out. They have to be taken by June 30th. And of course, the leave does have to be approved by your supervisor, but generally that would be on a non-student day anyway. And they do not carry over to a subsequent year.
So just from my experience, sir, and members of the board, the absolute best way to use any bonus leave is to replace leave that you had to take because of a mandated annual leave day on the calendar. So you can take bonus leave approved by the board, and let's say you use 4 days of it. Everyone used 4 days of annual leave for spring break, mandated by the calendar. So 3 of those annual leave days would go back to the employee, and you could then replace that with the bonus leave.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Oliver, Ms. Rampy? If not, then is there a motion to approve?
That we approve the recommendation of Mr. Oliver and Ms. Rampy on the board approved local leave.
Second.
All right. And that is for 3 days of local leave. I think last year we granted 1. Was that right?
And it is prorated based on the employee's hours. So if they are a
Sure.
4-hour day employee, they would get 4 hours. If they're an 8-hour or 7.5 hour, whatever their day is, whatever
Right.
leave day they would take.
Okay.
And I would just add, make sure it's explicitly explained.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
I was confused.
Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate so much you clarifying that for me. They don't have to take the days. It can go back retroactively. And I think that's the difference in the day that they were given last year, is they had to take the day.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so I want people to understand, we're not asking you've been planning to work in your classroom finally on some work days. Now we're asking you to give 3 of those work days up. That's where I was confused. So I do want to publicly thank you for explaining that to me.
Yes, ma'am.
That they can go back and bank those days up.
Yes, ma'am. It's also a really huge benefit for our brand new teachers who
Sure.
probably have a negative leave balance after the first year. And so this allows them to, again, go back and replace 3 days that were mandated as annual leave on the calendar and possibly not be at a negative balance at the end of the school year, which is that's a tough road to hoe.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, then all in favor of the motion? And the motion carries, Ms. Helms, unanimously. All right. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Ms. Ring.
Time now for board reports. Any members have anything particular to report? Okay, Ms. Silver?
I have two
All
board
right.
reports. One is for Head Start, and one's just a update on the curriculum. And so which one would you prefer that I do first?
Let's do Head Start
All
since
right.
we've been talking about it.
All right. So as always, my favorite thing. Where did she go? There she is. You're always over there. Now you're over there. My favorite part about board meeting Mondays is definitely my Head Start Policy Council. Dr. Delaney, I just appreciate all that you guys continue to do just for so many families in here. I'm always disappointed when we have a full house and then people leave before we're able to just brag on our people. I was just sad to see everybody leave. So that's the message I'd first like to get out, is we are doing so much more better in this system, and I'd love for people to stick around and hear it when we do our board reports. That's an editorial comment, but that's my right. So anyway, moving forward, one thing that I wanted to share that I hope you heard Mr. Oliver talk about is we did have a representative that came from Buncombe County. Unfortunately, due to a tutoring commitment that I have standing every Monday afternoon, I wasn't there. But Representative Adger, who is actually Buncombe County's representative, came to McDowell County to look at our early childhood programs, to look at Head Start, and to find out exactly what we're doing so well in this county. And I think that's a huge compliment to Dr. Delaney and to the McDowell County Head Start, to Ms. Hamby, to our Office of Early Learning. People from Buncombe County don't come to McDowell County often to see what we're doing well. And so I appreciate the fact that their representative came here. And thank you guys for being so welcoming to them and helping them see what they can do to follow our lead. At our Head Start Policy Council meeting today, so many great things are happening. I always come with the appeal that we have positions that need to be hired, and I come to you tonight to report that we just have a part-time position now available. All the other positions have been filled, so that is such exciting news to know that those classrooms are filled.
That's great.
So that's great to hear. Exciting also that we are looking at increasing some security systems at the doors. All of their COVID money was spent. We did not have to return any of that back. We definitely want to thank Mr. Trinks and the maintenance department, Mr. Oliver, for helping to make sure that some of those measures were put in place. And then one thing too, just an appeal, Dr. Delaney shared the classroom assessment scoring system. That's also an acronym. It's CLASS, but it stands for Classroom Assessment Scoring System, where they just sit back and evaluate themselves. And again, this group is constantly evaluating what they're doing. And I think that's why they do so well, is that they are always looking to see how they can improve. There are different areas. I won't get into all of it. But one area that they did look at that they need some work in would be the area of behavioral management, productivity, and instructional learning formats in their classroom. But very specifically, why some of those areas were marked a little lower is because the amount of mental health needs and behavioral challenges that are coming into early elementary classrooms. As we've heard, Ms. Phillips shared, every classroom teacher will share with you, every administrator will share with you, we have got significant behavioral needs in our classrooms right now. And what we need is people. We need people to partner with our classroom professionals. One thing that we talked about is we've got to somehow appeal to people that provide funding to help us to employ child psychologists and behavioral specialists that are going to step in and work with those youngest of learners, so that a lot of those behavioral issues that our classroom teachers are not trained to deal with, but they're dealing with anyway, how can we partner with them to make that better? So that was something that I definitely wanted to share. But as always, Dr. Delaney, it's a joy for me. 10 o'clock on those Mondays is not penciled in, it's permanent markered in, because I enjoy that. So the other thing I just wanted to give an update, and I met with Ms. Hamby, we've talked about our reading curriculum and looking at the adoption of that. I just wanted to update everybody on this because we really haven't touched base as a curriculum committee. I did want to thank Ms. Hamby and the administrative staff, as well as our teaching staff throughout the county, for taking time to peruse the various curriculums that have been offered to us. We are looking for the one that most specifically fits teaching to fidelity, the science of reading, that Ms. Phillips talked about. This is Senate Bill 387, which directly and explicitly says your reading curriculum will be based on the science of reading. She and I could talk about that all day long, but I know that we get way in the weeds about how important that is. It's our hope that we find one soon, but we've all heard this quote before, that it's better to do things right than to do them right now. And as soon as the samples of some more curriculums that she and the principals have looked at are delivered to the schools, we're once again going to take feedback from the teaching staff, because those people are the professionals that we trust to do the work. At that point, we'll call a curriculum and instruction committee meeting to look at what they have chosen through a series of surveys. And they were very informative on this last round. We do want to do this as quickly as we can, but like I said, we want to take our time. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but we want to get these in their hands so they can be ready for next year. We also need to get reading taken care of, because we also have a math adoption that we're going to be looking at. So that's just kind of the basis of where we are. There's a lot of work that's been done, and just to convey back to the teaching staff and to the administrative staff how much we appreciate the meticulous way in which they're doing this to find the curriculum that's best for their kids. And thank you, too, for your leadership.
Others? Yes, sir. Mr. Frank?
Yeah, I want to update you on NJROTC, and I had Chief kind of brief you a little bit on this rifle match they're having this weekend, and it's Thursday through Saturday. But one thing that he kind of hinted on that I want to put in a plug for the board, they're expecting 180 cadets from 21 schools. And when you look at the income to the county for their motels and that sort of thing, we made a good investment on those targets, and the hats off to the board for doing that. And also, this is interesting too, Saturday, they're hosting a drone meet, and cadets from 6 schools will compete flying drones at various events. And I'm telling you, that's up and coming thing for the military. And hey, it just shows how active and proactive we are in NJROTC. And I'm saddened at the fact that we're losing Captain Ross, but I understand that better things are coming for him.
Yes, sir. Well, yes, sir. We will miss both of those gentlemen as they retire in the coming months.
Yes, sir.
But I know that we'll have 2 great folks coming behind them. So,
Are there others?
I'll just real briefly update the public that as a board, we made a commitment to go around to all of the schools and meet with our teaching staff, our directors, our principals, and I'm glad to report we have completed that task. So it was daunting at times, but every one of our board members got to participate in meetings with the different schools and with the different groups, and it was a wealth of information. It really was, and I think it was an endeavor that I'm glad that we took that on. I really am, because I think it really gave us a lot of insight as to what's going on in our school system. So glad to report that part of the project is completed, so we can check that one off our boxes.
Would you care to further update the public on the timeline in the superintendent process?
So
Can you remember?
the survey closed last Wednesday, I think it was. Right? I think so. The survey closed last Wednesday, and that's another piece of this superintendent search in the sense of gathering information and public opinion that went out to all of our staff. We encouraged everybody to share that. That was on our website. And so I believe that has closed. The applications are due on the 21st, I believe. And on April 25th, the board will have a special called meeting. It will be a closed session meeting to review those applications. As I told the staff at several of the places when we met with the directors, our principals, our goal is to narrow it down to 4 to 5 applicants to interview. We have not seen any of those applicants yet. We don't know how many there are yet. As Mr. Shatley said, or Mr. Campbell said, he doesn't even really look in his inbox yet until it gets close to that date. So I really don't have much more to report on that, except that we will have that special called meeting on April 25th to begin that process. Is that enough?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue on then. And the next item is approval of the consent agenda. And as you know, any item may be pulled from the consent agenda for individual discussion and action. So is there anything that the member would ask that we consider separately?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as printed.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right.
Second.
Mr. Frank makes the motion and Mr. Shuford makes the second. Any further discussion, questions? If not, then all in favor, right hand. And the motion carries unanimously. Next item will be a move to go into closed session for discussion of information that's privileged, confidential, or not a public record under North Carolina General Statute, and consideration of a personnel action that involves an officer or employee of this board under North Carolina General Statute. Is there a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
A motion by Ms. Moomaw.
Second.
A second by Ms. Helms. Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? And the motion carries. The board will move into closed session. Thank you folks for coming and thank you for staying. Left out there, you think, Reckon? What?
Was that good?
I know we, well, there are folks left. Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda this evening is to take action on closed session items. And is there a motion regarding that? Come on, Terry. You know how to say
I'll
it.
make a motion that we accept the certified and uncertified recommendations.
All right. Ms. Mumal makes a motion. Mr. Shuford makes the second. Is there any discussion? If not, then all in favor? And the motion carries. We're down to item number XBI. Would that be 16?
Yes, sir.
All right. I remember a little something. The board will not have a work session in April of 2023. However, the board will need to have a special called meeting to consider the applicants for the superintendent position. And that will be on April the 25th. And I think we talked about this once before. I think most everyone said that a midday meeting would be easier.
We said 11 o'clock.
We said 11.
We set from 11 to 1.
From 11 to 1.
Right.
Now, I was thinking it was like that.
Mhm.
Okay. So, April 25th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The board will meet here, and you'll have your packet of applicants. The timeline communication from Mr. Campbell said they would be hand delivered. I don't know exactly how we're going to hand deliver them, but that might have been hand delivered here. I'm not sure. Okay. All right. So you will have the applications on the 21st or 22nd, and you'll have an opportunity to review those. And when we meet together on the 25th, we'll consider all of them and try to whittle that down to a handful for an interview. Okay. The May regular meeting will be Monday, May the 8th. And that seems really early in the month, but it is the second Monday. And that is our policy to meet that date. Also, our work session that month is tentatively scheduled for May the 22nd. So, there's things are gonna be an awful lot to do in a short time here over the next 30 days or so. So if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting? Mr. Abernathy makes the motion, and Ms. Mumal makes the second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of adjournment? And the motion carries. Thank you all, and we'll meet again on